as an introduction, let's say Alfonso and I pretty much we've been working on the Trollhunters series pretty much from the very, very beginning. Not just in Wizard, but in the whole trilogy.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Wizards is a Netflix show that's produced by Guillermo del Toro, and it is the third in a trilogy for Trollhunters and Three Below. And I'm just going to be going through this slideshow that we have here. And Alfonso and Francisco will be going through explaining the behind the scenes, how we design certain things. Please hold your questions to the very end because I will not be able to look at the chat box. They're in the middle of it. And then at the end, when we have time, we'll do a general Q&A. Does that sound good to you guys? Yeah, awesome. So let's go through the slides.
All right.
Okay, and the starting more or less is so as Francisco said, we were here since doing Tale of Arcadia and Trollhunters since it was pitched as a movie back in 2012 or more or less, and that what started to be for us like Trollhunters and a universe about trolls and it having much more universe on it. So that was great for to follow everything because the story and everything we felt. In my case, I felt really. I'm still feeling really engaged and I love it, honestly. And I really like and really love it the reaction that a lot of people that you guys have and everything is we feel the feedback of the people really having fun with the series. That's the most important thing we are always looking for. And when since we the same thing, like if we are designing a main character or even a prop, is that motion of try to do the thing that is actually fit in that world because we really live in it. And so we started with this type of ideas that from those you know before, like the Trollhunters and Three Below, and happened to us with Three Below already. So we started to do the same thing in Wizard when we knew that this show is coming and as a project for us to work. And it's kind of okay. Let's contemplate all the lineup, all the characters that we have. What is the story about? Who is the main character in the story about? And let's start to design, right? And in this case, Francisco, you can talk more about if you want, because you came as a biz dev, art director, and director, actually.
Yeah, I've been moving on the, on these areas, on positions. Well, as Alfonso said, pretty much from the beginning, this was like the trilogy was conceptualized as a movie. And then from all the ideas that we have, when we started doing series, we pretty much knew almost from the beginning that they will want to do like the trilogy. And we have like a vague idea that where we will go, as art-wise and design-wise. So one of the main ideas that Guillermo always talk about is that he wanted the design and the visuals to evolve with the audience. So if you see the first series, the first Trollhunters, the theme and the mood, kind of the tone is a little bit more kiddish. And then as we go to Three Below, become more teen and Wizards is a little bit darker. I think it's the darker of the three shows. And and in that sense, we move later for the movie. I cannot say too much about it, but everything is being tried to be coherent from the beginning. There's been like a plan that we've been follow. And this lineup is, well, you can see here is pretty much the latest iteration of the characters. You see Jim as Troll, Claire with the armor, and those were pretty much when when we left in Trollhunters or Three Below, and then Wizard, we kind of go back to these characters, and pretty much the first row that you see on the top is with the exception of Morgana and Arthur and Luxie is more like what we had before, and at the bottom is like the new characters, and you can see the Arcane Order and Morgana with her armor. I saw we saw her before in other episodes, but I think Wizard has like a bigger participation on the series. It has more presence, and pretty much when we start designing is what we line up all the new characters just to make sure they kind of fit on the same universe and scales, and pretty much these are like the what you see here is that kind of see how the characters look each other all together next to each other.
One of the important things to understand also a little bit here is as we mentioned, like how we move our positions in a way. We enter more or less everyone as we enter as a biz dev artist.
Yeah, I know it's
and that and the other thing is driving to when we get more responsibilities during the show, because you are more you are getting everything that you have there, and you feel like okay, now it's the production is turning to you or to Francisco, to Linda, and to select these artists could be bringing more texture or more a new layer to the as a team, because one of the main thing as a starting element is how Guillermo's presence and his way of working with us and the interaction with us and was about teamwork and about ideas are always worth in terms of doesn't matter who kind of have the idea. If the idea is good, go through, or probably is taking that idea, take it for another place and another one, another artist, and mix it together and keep going. And that's something like people like Linda, Francisco, myself, we are this type of person that we understand and understood really clear that idea, and I think is really really engaged place to work in terms of you have your personal illustration, art, whatever you want to call it, as a personal, but this is a project who actually the main controller is Guillermo, and you need to try to reach. Sometimes he knows what he wants, sometimes he expect or he wait to see if it's happening, and that's something like is give us that kind of fuel to work, and it's great because also the visuals from Guillermo is already. Francisco is actually a veteran with him in terms of how to design for Guillermo.
Yeah, I mean,
oh my god.
Yeah, I started working with Guillermo on the Hellboy movies, and I did with him. I mean, we did movies that they never came out, like The Mountains of Madness, and I worked with him on his version of The Hobbit, and later I worked a little bit with Peter Jackson on The Final Hobbit, and then Pacific Rim and all the other Guillermo movies. I've been involved. So like working on this series for me is somewhat like natural to know what Guillermo will like, what is not going to like, and and as Alfonso said, when we did Trollhunters, I started just doing purely concept, and then when we did Three Below, I was more involved, mostly designing a lot of the sci-fi stuff, and then in Wizards I started. Well, actually, in Three Below at the end, I started directing some episodes. But in Wizards, I think the advantage that we had is that since I had one foot on the art department and the other foot in the directorial, I think we were able to close better the gap of information between concept and and make it sure that it's going to work for what we want the story to be. And in TV, sometimes it's hard because it's not most of the time it's not the process that you think that you design everything and then you jump to do the episodes and direct and everything. At least in our show, everything kind of happens at the same time. So we're like designing and sometimes it overlaps with the storyboards, and they start doing the storyboards, and we need to make sure at least notions of the designs are there, so the storyboard artist can board something that is close or resemble what it's going to look at the end. So, I mean, it's hard, it's crazy, but I mean, we're really proud of what we did. I think it worked really good.
Awesome. I'm gonna go to the next slide.
Yeah. So more or less, these ones are more in the way of mood paintings. Try to fill in who is gonna be and what is kind of the main core of the show. Try to represent in one image, like an illustration. So the thing is, in this case, we knew this is a progressive paintings in a way, because we are starting with some. We had the lucky to be in a room of a story room, like with Guillermo, the writers, and everyone, the showrunner, and everything. And they start to throw ideas of what is gonna be, and how the production is gonna be settled on the ground and everything. And those ideas, some of them passed through, and some of them was going to trash or just recycled to a different thing. The being there is great because you have all this inspiration. Is with a sentence, with a stare of the eye, like that could be a nice painting or something. So it's just you start.
Yeah, like the brainstorm process at the beginning.
So you start to do these paintings. It's not like for a specific use. It's just for an inspirational. In this case, like what is the magic gonna look like? Even if they're very archaic from what they ended being, but it's more or less, the process. Looks in this case how it started. It was before the design was made, and at the end, it's just the same paintings getting the actual look of the character or an inspiration of that one. In this case, because the wizard is about this master and the pupil wizard try to marry against the arcane order.
Awesome. Could you guys please mute your mics? Thank you.
Yeah, so these paintings, when we started like drawing with the story, we created these paintings, and pretty much every artist kind of brainstorm what they imagine or what they want to see, and when I did this one, I was thinking that, and Alfonso and I, we were talking about like it would be cool if we had like different wizards from different cultures, and all of them, they have like their fortress, and at some point they go into war, so you'll see some Scandinavian wizards fighting against these, South American or Central American wizards, so, but that's the process that is like the brainstorm, and then from there, some of the ideas make it to the final thing. Some others, they're just like put there in case we need them, or just totally scrap. But it's always cool to see these paintings. We put them in the walls of the corridors just to have them as an inspiration.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry, my thing is freaking out a little bit. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, this another one of those, kind of again like brainstorm paintings, and some of these ideas you can see kind of seeping through from the brainstorm, the first episode when you see the castle, the Merlin castle or the Camelot fighting the Morgana castle. At this point, we didn't have like final designs for anything, so that castle that you see in the back it kind of looks a little bit like the Arcane Order castle, and we polished the designs and everything, but you can start seeing the seeds of the ideas there, you know. So and that's why we do this painting, just kind of start getting into the mood, start just throwing ideas on the table. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
the thing about all this is going outside the box as soon as you can. Is try to go full. Like, what about if this show is a feature, and the way that Francisco, the same thing, and I have that experience as well. When you are working a certain way, it's not about what is TV, what is feature, what is video game. It's about your style in a way. Like, not your styles in terms of how do your style define you, is more the way that you work. It makes sense. So the way that we work in a way is giving everything to the grill. It's like, okay, I wish to see this thing battle in the sky, in this emotion and effects and atmosphere, massive, and then depends of the on what you are working, they're gonna say like, okay, this is TV, we need to finish, we need to do this, and that is when they start the negotiation. And that's happened in feature, in video games, and here, and in TV, and kind of this is the process for us. It's like, giving everything a certain level of standard, that from there keep pushing, and always kind of struggle and battle. In a way, no enemies, is just time and budget, and there is always guards about that one, and you need to negotiate with that one, and that's all about. And this painting is more or less that kind of the illustration that you want to see a movie like that. When, in my case, when I was a younger kid or something, oh, I want to, this is the funny, the really fun part of the project, before getting to nail what is gonna be, and you need to talk later with technical, and what is the best way to design, or to have an end final character, even if it's going a little bit out of the initial design, because technically you can do this one now. So it's kind of always it's kind of intense labyrinth that you need to finish. More or less the end is going to be great, because all the artists involved, all the technical, all the producers, everyone is in that level, or try to get all that level, and you need to push it, and they need to push you. So it's that kind of work. So same thing with these ideas, like Duxie and Merlin is bring some characters that we know already is gonna be there. In this case, it's very specific. It's a really show it perfectly from my perspective. The collaboration work in terms of with Francisco in this case, like he's an amazing designer. Also, helped me a lot in terms of how to push even further images that you are working. And it's sort of thing, like you can take it for, if it's something like no, that's my painting, or that's his painting, is more or less that's the combination of the power. That's the actual power that we are having in this kind of.
Yeah, what Alfonso, I think, means is that we like, when we work, we like to bounce the work around. So, for example, sometimes I do my doodles and sketch stuff, and I share it with Alfonso, and then Alfonso, sometimes like, oh, I really like this one, I would like to paint it. So Alfonso take it, paint it, and sometimes send it back to me, or and I do like another pass and send it back to Alfonso, and Alfonso do another one. So it's kind of just trying to plus the work, and and we try, between us, among us, the artists, there is no egos, there is no property of the work. It's just, we're just working, trying to push the show, and we like to work that way. I think a lot of good stuff comes out of that process.
And that's something that we want to you can keep going,
Okay.
thank you. So is that kind of thing like we try to also show to the rest of the team in terms of if we are doing this way because it's not that formula thing, it's just it worked for us in a way, like wow, that's a great idea, that's amazing. And the credit is gonna be, of course, the idea. You can break down the credits of any like everything, but sometimes when it's combined, it's that thing like this is a show of Guillermo, but what is exactly Guillermo doing? Is an orchestrator. So it's the type of thing like we all together are part of a breathing system, and you are a production. In my case, I always consider that's the thing of when we evolved from biz dev, all of us to a different positions. In my case, I found myself in Three Below. I was art director, but I found myself that my work was more related to a production design. So I fight for it in the studio. I say, okay, I think I'm doing this one actually, and I think it's more about like I want to be this. Is you are already doing it, and you are part of that process doing that thing, and that's in my case I feel really comfortable in the production artist area. Like I know how to take a painting from a character from um, Linda, for example, from Francisco or Headless, and try to evolve it because I learned from from more person. In this case, I was checking also from Linda, from Francisco, from Rodrigo, that he was the showrunner from Trollhunters and Trilo, and I learned a lot from them. And also, you put your something we were talking about, Francisco and me, for a long time, is about the taste and how an artist is not only the way that the craft is there, it's also the choices of what are you displaying and the way that you display it. So I feel comfortable in that realm, and also is that part of the idea. In this case, that you can see is that you can see the very first lineup that we show in the beginning. It was that idea of mixing artists everywhere and make kind of sense, but that was a copy paste thing, and we know the thing is going to be evolved, and the final result is need to be CG. So is that comfortable zone that we know that we Linda went here like going fully with the K transparent one in a TV show, and it's like but the core is there, and as we know, Guillermo knows. So when he see this one, he's like, I want that. Even he can give any of direction in the beginning, but when he see this one, everything is there for her, for Nari in this case. No, and it's those things.
So Francisco has a really fun term for this process. I think he calls it American Idol.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we always call it with Guillermo. When we have a selection of stuff we like, but we cannot decide, we print all the kind of like the winning designs, and we do an American Idol, and we decide which one is the good one, and we pick it and we go with that.
Yeah, and some of them like like characters that you can see here or in different places in the whole universe of Tales of Arcadia. Most of them are kind of also Frankenstein-y in a way, because it's like I need the head of this one. This is working here. This is working here. It's kind of a character designer one person can do, but in this case, it's like a team, like deciding different things. All of us kind of focusing in one direction. So you can see here more or less. Yeah, here also. Yeah, you can.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry about it. So is the different parts of the process. Some of them are markups for artists. Like we try to in the art team, what we try to do is we were working with this kind of a casting when we did the interviews and then searching for artists in terms of try to find a fit for one specific thing. More than that one, it was more like can we find people that actually work, you can trust in those artists that they can touch any part of the process in a way, from a matte painting to a character to some of them, of course, of some of us, we are more skilled in one area or something like that, but more or less the whole team, it was an amazing answer, amazing reaction, and I love the team that it was created there because we found that thing, like you were kind of just trafficking or control damaging because everyone is like a lot of information coming and go, and you just like okay, this is pushing here, pushing there, but you can trust to every artist on the case of Arcadia from my point of view. It was like amazing.
Yeah, so here is again, Jim Troll, but let's call it the Hulk version or the Beast version. Yeah. So we had the regular Jim Troll, but we wanted to make this version, but still trying to keep a little bit of Jim resemblance. And I think the design went pretty much passed through many hands, right? Like I think I did a go, and then Linda did another one on the same design, and at the end it was kind of like a collaboration of several artists, I think. And yeah, same thing with Charlemagne, right? Like I think it's like pretty much what Alfonso said, that it's almost like a Frankenstein, not like Frankenstein, but we bound the design between some of the artists. So somebody started with it and somebody else finished it. But I think this, it turned out pretty good, I guess. I like it.
Yeah. Also.
Yeah, I mean, the sketch version was based definitely off of early sketch by Francisco, but there was like also comments about who we were going to cast about that, and if we wanted it to look more like the actor we were going to cast. So it's always like an evolving discussion.
Exactly.
Yeah, and same thing, like talking about the same thing about the team and everything is Francisco did that concept, Linda another pass to get more character on it and more sense of in the show, whatever. And after is coming the line art, and after is coming the markup, and the final model need to be revisited and reviewed, and also the texture on the CG and the lighting.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to mention is that at the beginning of the process, we have also a bunch of artists, the usual suspects, but they're like artists that we like and we kind of were fans of, and we've been lucky to be able to hire them at the beginning of the process to help us to do that brainstorm, and I think that and bring like new flavors to the table, and I think that's been very, very a great thing to have in this show, that we have that extra fresh ideas that come from outside too. So yeah, kudos to all those guys, artists that help us.
Yeah, it's interesting. This image in particular with the Lady of the Lake is it was funny because it's sort of thing like you are totally on like we're gonna build this character, but the production needs to be keep alive, and at the end I think they decide to just chop it the half bottom part, because it's gonna be in the water, and just create one tentacle. So those things like you need to also be flexible to say like, okay, so we're gonna do that one, but and the tech team is talking to you like, oh, but we need, and the budget, producers, we need to do only half of them. Okay, how we can do better? So those we need to be always ready. Like not only to make the decision that we are doing this, is also, do we need to update the design in a way? How is the less impact for that one? So it's coming that kind of parallel thinking in a way, like a transversal, that you need to cross your head and say like, okay, I love the design. How we gonna do this one without even finishing the show? You know, I need to finish the show, and that's always. I don't like to think too much in the money when I'm working on the art department, but sometimes it's like it's not about the money. It's how we're gonna finish this. And with the text. So in this case, we need to, as an art team, we need to be able to. So in a way, you are not only a designer about character, props, or sets. You also need to be ready to explain every single aspect visually from the show, in a way with the language of the show. Create that design of the show, or try to figure it out a design of the show. That's the main art department in a show like this one, how it works. In this case, this art department. Well, like be ready to have anything like appear there, and someone like oh, we need a design for the how Merlin is gonna appear, create that appearance from the manhole. So same thing. Start the project kind of a brainstorm, or someone had the idea already and start to show it and just display in a template, and you can see stage 1 and stage 2. You start a conversation with the technical, with the VFX soups and everything, and find a way how to get it on the show. Combination work, right? Linda?
Yeah.
Just everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, those things like it could be anything with this one of the very first one from Francisco.
Yeah, this one was just like a quick doodle, trying to figure out things.
A quick doodle, he says.
Yeah, right. It was
Quick
funny
doodle.
because I like the boat, because at the beginning it was the idea to have, if you're going back, Linda, one.
Yeah, that's why,
it's so complex.
exactly. It's just like sometimes there are like ideas on the air, and we're wondering how they're going to look. So I think that was a quick one, just to see how made the bookshelf boat will work, or trying to figure out the sky. We can do like a twilight kind of a sky, so it's not like night or day, and so yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, like I mean, sometimes I call them a doodles because I've been in really tight situations, working in movies. Some guy asked me, how long does it take to do a painting for you, or you take to do a painting? I told him, it's not the time that it takes you to do a painting; it's the time they give you to do the painting. So I've been in situations where Guillermo comes into my office and says, Francisco, in an hour, I have a meeting. I need a painting. And so I know I have to start from scratch and have like a finished painting in an hour. And probably that painting is going to look maybe like crap, but it's like an hour painting, and it's pretty much what you get for an hour. And so it's pretty much, you get what you put into it, I guess.
And in the process, same thing. That's something that Francisco was saying before. We had lucky also to have amazing artists who actually were since the beginning. Even
this is right.
Or in the book, the illustration of the book that Guillermo wrote, Trollhunters. It was this one.
It's Sean Murray did these illustrations, and I mean, I'm personally a big fan of his stuff. I didn't knew him, until we started the process. The show. But I remember seeing the illustration for the Trollhunters book, and I was like, "Whoa, who's this guy? We need to bring him over on board." and I'm glad that we have him.
That's the big lucky I felt really is working with Guillermo. Of course, is that engine force of movie and cinematography and everything, but also to be able to be close to that kind of magnetic person who actually bring artists who are there with you, sit down at a table and working like, okay, wow.
Yeah, it's what Guillermo does. He likes to do at the same as you cast actors for a movie. He likes to cast artists for his projects. So 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 he always tries to choose the right artists that they have the same sensibility or the sensibilities that he's looking for the for the different shows or the projects he's involved into.
Also, heads up, guys, Sean Murray is actually in the chat right now. So, shout out, Sean Murray.
No! Alright. So same thing, like try to figure it out. Hey, hello, Sean. Yeah. So same thing. As soon you have a design that kind of work like that Heart of Avalon and that thing need to be there, we need to figure it out how this thing works. And also that is a great part. It's more engineering part, but also this Tales of Arcadia based a lot on that one because we know all how Guillermo loved since Kronos. You can see Kronos, his first movie, and you just already seen there how he liked to go engineering almost a watcher, right? Like a watch.
Yeah, he's a geek of all these
So
mechanical
you need to compete with his his passion, and that's great actually because it's giving you a lot of how we can do this one or not, and after you need same thing like technicals coming like if you do this one that sphere is gonna collide with the other. Okay, so we need to change how we gonna so it's kind of that way. During the process, you see a design of the castle and everything, how we settle down, and we have an amazing team also in the model area, like all the CG and everything. That it's very small team that we are working directly as creators because mostly because they are also in a TV that is tight schedule. If you need to do a lot of things that you are not doing in a feature in a way. Like you in a feature, you are more like a part of the machinery, like giving to you something like that. But here you need to add something special. Like always, is need to. No one is gonna be there that fast to give you the answer to move forward. So that means a lot of decisions need to be made on the moment and by the artist. And it's not all of them a credit of a director, or production designer or something. It's also the artist on them. And I call them all artists. And our team, I created that kind of bubble in my head. Like it's everyone. It's the technique, the Jisoo. Everyone is an art team for me because I need to work with all of them. So it's like a Kundo, for example, or
that's when you realize animation is a very collaborative process. So pretty much everyone is involved in everything.
Parts of the castle interior. Sometimes you need base your painting or drawing to be more effective in a CG over a render, over a layout, over something like a really basic boxes of 3D and drawovers on top, or sometimes you going from scratch. But that's something also we are not paying too much importance in a way. Like what's the matter? What's the thing to be more credit from scratch or over a render? You need a solution for some areas, and you need to do faster or not. Depends on the artist. I know Francisco, for example, is so difficult to win a race with him in painting because he's so fast. I invite everyone to challenge him for a speedy painting because it's going like a what?
I think it's all my years of working on comic books and trying to meet the deadlines. It make me like that.
I know the theory. but you have that gift. That's great. But it's those things like we are not picky in terms of oh no, we need to do all the things just because you are a painter or an artist from scratch. It's like no no what I don't care the medium. You just need we need something at the end, right? In this case, you can see elements of the village.
Yeah, that's the Merlin workshop. Like yeah, on the left is like sketches I did with ideas, and that's the cool thing. I I mean, at least for me, working on this project has been like a dream because, like the workshop, I start designing it in 3D and kind of paint on top. The same with the boat, and then I share my 3D rough models with the production department, and it's so amazing to see how they pretty much come to realization. How they do them and how they can nail them, because my 3D models are almost exactly to every detail. And I mean, it's been really like I think like big privilege to be working like this.
Linda, in this one, she created herself as a glass artist. That's important to know. The Merlin window. Yeah.
But do you remember how we forgot about Morgana's window and we had to do a quick color shift on it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I love it of this thing. Like you never know where's the next thing to do, and yeah, let's go. So for this one, you know the castle, those
Yeah, I think all this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's mostly Sean Murray's stuff.
So Sean have these two on the bottom. Yeah, those are great. The initial design and the interior. Jonathan Fernandez looked left, CG artist on the top left, and Andrew Murray on the markup.
I think you're just lucky. Not even your soul, just you.
Same thing, inspiration for the forest. Something that's important to understand as well is how you face these projects, this universe in a way. Like Trollhunters was about crystals, minerals, rocks, and all this through low sci-fi, transparency, and try to explore something new and challenging for a TV show to do. And in this case, it was like we have this strong part of the show that we're going back to a fairy tale in a way, because a fairy country in a way, like it's Camelot, and that for us try to figure it out something that we saw already in different movies and everything. Try to figure out something that's a little bit more original, or those things. It's important to understand how, as a team, and all this background, visual background, emotion background that we have, we throw it here in every month. So it's like you have this kind of visual library in your head, heart, whatever. Like it's an encyclopedia or more of imaginary about movies, video games, and everything, and try to combine all those ideas of what you want to see. In case it's like the forest, we ended having this kind of beautiful vegetation with glowing elements on it, and try to with that one the magical.
The enchanted forest.
Yes.
It was a Halloween festival.
And then these doors, that you see in episode 4, I was directing the same episode, so pretty much I had like free range to design my own episode. And these doors, I think Guillermo kind of described what he wanted, but in my mind, I think he wanted something similar to the doors that you see in Labyrinth, that they talk. And when I was designing them, I was thinking to, if I was doing a live action, it would be kind of cool to be like almost like puppets. So when you see them in the show, that's why the mouths and everything, they move almost like puppet kind of thing. But yeah.
So in terms of, for example, color and how do you, in my case, thinking about that overall plan, it's so difficult in a show, episodic show, that imagine you have this episode in front of you. You know it's gonna be 10 episodes in terms of wizards, but you're gonna have the scripts one by one. It's not like all of them as a movie or as a project done. All the scripts are there. You can plan because you know all the characters, who's gonna be, blah blah blah. From Tales of Arcadia, Trollhunters, we didn't know. So it's kind of, we have all these new appearance of characters, of different sets and everything during the production. We didn't know we know certain elements, and there's when you need to be very quick and fast to try to figure it out. We're gonna need this one or not, or you need to ask the right questions. Terms, for example, of planning color for this very classic element. I really love color keys and color script and all this idea, and try to plan with color moods, bars and everything. And in case of the magic, for example, which color is for who? That's it's kind of, in this show you have like the 4 or 5 characters in the beginning, so you know more or less who is gonna be the color in the main. But after, you're gonna have a new character stuff. So that is when you fill the gap with different colors and try to figure it out that part. So it's a process that is difficult because you need to break, pick colors that you are not planning ahead, and is difficult when you are trying to figure out the whole thing. And we ended, I think, in my perspective and everything, is try to get that type of thing. This is a lineup of all the magic colors that we use and with the characters, and I think is ended kind of okay now, in a way of every of them have their own color in a realm that we love and to have it. So here, same thing, like teamwork in the beginning of a TV show. That's something like I can talk a little bit. Is that Trollhunters was one of the first thing when I arrived. I arrived as a texture painter, and from there I was able to create, a lot of image and everything. And since the beginning, talking with Rodrigo, the showrunner, it was the idea, and Guillermo idea of not having this kind of overall lighting, because it's a show that need a storytelling with the light. We brought to the production this element of the color keys and color script that it was always in the features and animation. Some of the TV shows has it and had it before, but the way that we try to do it here was like try to make it very, very dramatic and create that sense of you are seeing with the lighting this kind of
and a little bit the process on doing this one is that by the time they do the color keys, we already have storyboards for some of the episodes, or if we're lucky, we have renders already. So pretty much we choose the storyboard or the render that represents like the whole scene, and Alfonso is when he creates the color script, and they start creating like these keys for for the different moments in the episode, and
so one of
you guys, well, trying to play to the to kind of like the mood or for each part of the story.
Yeah, one of the main thing of the same thing with the episodic idea that I was explaining before is a color script is you can do it when you have all the script. Like you can do really a plan for your lighting during the whole thing. Color keys are specific. You can have it a color script before, or you don't have it and you create a color key, because the moment itself you try to understand the mood, and that's when all these kind of merge together and make sense for the production, is like we cannot do the color script, and I say that's not the idea. The color script is something like you need all these scripts to do it, to have that.
Yeah, but in general, the general, what the color script is because I'm saying seeing some of the comments in the chat. The same way you have a story that maybe opens with high action and then ramps down to calm down and explain the conflict of the story, and then start evolving to the climax and then to the end. The same thing happens with the color, where we try to create like a distinct like mood or emotions that go along the story, but with color. So maybe at the beginning, if it's either like an epic or like scary or actiony, you try to design the color to work for that emotion. And then when it calms down, you also calm down the colors. And that's what Alfonso does really well. He designs the color palette for as general for the entire show. So maybe he decides to start with really warm colors, and when everything gets dire and dark, he turns into bluish colors, and maybe we desaturate it. And then at the end, when everything gets resolved and we have a happy ending, all the saturation and all the colors and the richness come back. So that's why it's called color script, because something like you're creating the story but with color. That's just like as a general explanation of what the color script is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We try to use in the TV side, in our TV's way of doing this show. It was the idea of we can do kind of a plan in the beginning. We cannot go specific because we don't have that information yet. But when the script and the production is working, and usually in layout or storyboards layout and later animation, we start to know what it's gonna be look like, or what the camera log. Mostly when the camera log, and that's when we need to go and paint it. And that's same thing. Like I tried to learn from Francisco that the speed is like a painting. Like in the beginning, Trollhunters, I was more the color key artist myself, but because I went to art direction in 3 Below, I really happy to move with the team to create color keys with the different artists. And Linda was very involved in all the wizard ones. She's having here, I think it's the 50% of these keys are Linda. And having them, working with them directly, try to explain the process that I'm doing, learning from there. And also, I think I found something beautiful is the sense of the color, the sensitivity. How my sensitivity is one way and another artist is different way, is giving so much layer and so much beauty in a way, like a diversity to the whole thing, that is also compact with the story that I really enjoy.
Awesome, guys. I think this is the last slide, and we're just almost right about at the hour mark, but I did want to leave some time for Q&A. Alfonso, Francisco, do you guys have like maybe like 10 minutes to do a Q&A?
Sure.
Awesome. If you guys have your questions, please put them in the chat right now, and I'll read them out. We may not get to everybody, but let's see how this goes. And sorry, before that, no, this is not recorded. This is just a one-time Lightbox thing. But hopefully next year, if we can get over the pandemic and everything, that we can do a better presentation on the movie at actual Lightbox. That would be great.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So I have a question here. What was the hardest design concept to approve? And why were you invested in getting it through to the final version of the show?
To me, I remember one of the hardest one was Jim Beast.
Yeah.
Because the meaning that Jim has on the story, so pretty much everyone was on top of him.
Let me go back to that slide.
Yeah, making sure we like it and Guillermo liked it.
Yeah, I think not only Jim Beast, is just Jim, troll. Since Jim, we know he transformed into a troll, is just really difficult. So I think was the one of the characters like we really mold, do it, redo it, throw it, come back. You know, it's those things like a lot of hands were involved in all that. And in Wizard itself, yeah, Jim Beast, of course, is part of that.
Okay, and another question. How much does the team use 3D modeling and assets during the early stages of design?
Maybe you can answer that one, Alfonso.
Yeah. Can you repeat it just to make
Oh,
sure?
sorry. How much does the team use 3D modeling and assets during the early stages of design?
Well, this is the thing. Sometimes we have only an idea of what is gonna be like the bracelet, for example, of Duxie, or that is only an idea and we need to design from scratch. And that's Linda did amazing work trying to figure it out. And another part, like we have this box already as a model or kind of in the layout, or because usually storyboard could be there, but mostly in if it's passing through layout, we know the proportion kind of this box and we paint on top. Or
Yeah, but for example, when I was doing biz dev for Three Below, in Wizards I was more involved in the editorial, so I wasn't that intense on the art. But in Three Below, because I do 3D, it makes more sense to me. I was designing a lot of environments and mechanical and pretty much, high tech contraptions and stuff. So it makes more sense to me to design all that stuff straight from 3D than trying to draw it by hand. Um, because also in that way I can give them like a kickstart to the production department, because instead of starting from a sketch, they already have a model that they can look at from every angle and everything, and for me it kind of make more sense to work that way. But it changed, maybe with characters it's easy just to draw and sketch 2D than trying to do 3D models from ZBrush.
Mhm.
So it changed, but it's mostly the approach that you think is going to be more effective is what determines how much 3D you use and whatnot.
Here's another question. What are some struggles in translating these beautiful 2D concepts into 3D? Anything for me to keep in mind as a 3D modeler?
Well, I mean, in my experience, like there is like a lot of, when you are a modeler and you want to translate this one, you need to train your eye to do interpretation of shapes and forms, because you cannot just put this on the background and try to model on top, almost like carbon copy the drawing. Most of the time it doesn't work that way. It's like in a sculpture. You need to train your eye to see your sculpture and make sure that maybe all the details in the drawing are not there, or the shapes are not perfectly nailed down in the sketch. But if you try to keep that spirit and interpret what is on the sketch and translate it to the 3D, I think you're going to become a really successful modeler. Even in 2D, we do a lot of that, or at least I do a lot of that, because sometimes we have all these kind of guest artists, and each of them, they have different and strong styles. And one of my tasks, mostly in Three Below, was to translate those styles into the show style. Pretty much, I mean, it sounds kind of bad, but I was trying to remove the artist style and make it fit into the show style. So there is that exercise of trying to keep the spirit of the design, but change the shape so it works for the show. They work for the show.
Yeah. Also, in this TV show, is something like this happening. Like in feature, you more or less have it's a length, and you have more or less a plan, even you are evolving. But in those episodes, some direct you have a lot of voices, a lot of kind of voices of different way to tell the story, different directors, different point of view, layout artists, and everything like feature. But here in TV is you have a lot of episodes, and there's a lot of length of work, and that means we're gonna see the characters mostly in a if it's a main character, we're gonna see him every like the every single part. So is what you say, Francisco, in terms of the spirit, but also the spirit of the pieces, of the proportions, like that piece of a structure here. Why is that way in that 2D pose, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it translated if you move it like this one? So it's the feeling of the bulkiness in this type of thing, or the the subtleness or whatever. It's when you as a model need to understand like that piece probably is going to be seen from here, and we need to figure it out that even that is so abstract need to remind you the actual original piece. In a way it's hard, but with those things.
Awesome. Next question. How much creative freedom do you have with the work, or do you have to follow Guillermo's directions to a T?
Well, I think you always had, we can call it the sandbox that they put, that what the show is going to be. But inside that sandbox, I think we have pretty much a lot of freedom, because in that kind of brainstorm process at the beginning is when you can bring every crazy idea that you have and put it on the table and see if you can sell it, or they bite on it. And so there is a moment for everything. That's the moment to go crazy and try to pitch your ideas. And pretty much after that stage, you need to follow a production process, and it's pretty much just you know whatever they pick, whatever they decide to do is just translated so it works for the show. But I think we have a lot of, at least on my side, I think I just had like free range. I don't know how you feel, Alfonso.
Yeah, for me, it's, I always go into these places to any meeting, just if it's Guillermo, whoever is totally free of mind. Like, okay, let's see what inspired me. I try to find always a spark, and from there, there's few ways. Like you can sell it, or you need to follow it, and that's the thing. So you sometimes because as we talked in the beginning, the collaborative process. I love to just throw something there, or hear someone and try to figure it out another way, and that for me is freedom. That for me is not needed to say like, I know probably is not gonna like it. I received from Guillermo a doodle, really a stick figure, saying like that's gonna be Gamba, and you're like okay, and you paint it on top, you see whatever, and just paint it, and sometimes like
Yeah, we had a lot of that. Sometimes I get doodles that Guillermo sent through the producers, and the producer says, Guillermo sent this doodle, I don't know what it is, but he said you will understand.
yeah.
So we need to figure out sometimes what is in Guillermo's mind.
I know someone has the doodle of the lady in the lake.
Yeah,
Someone has it somewhere floating out there.
I think I do.
Here's another question. I think this will be the last question because I don't want to go over too long. You mentioned at the beginning that working on the movie for TOA is slightly different for VizDev than the show. Could you go more into detail of that without spoiling?
What is the pitch? I think in the beginning, as when Trollhunters was really tried to make it, it was the idea of showing presentation to be a feature, and if that is gonna give us give Guillermo the green light to go, and from there things start to evolve in terms of Netflix. It start to be this kind of overall thing like okay, we need shows, and that's when, but that's a DreamWorks thing, and I wasn't there. I was working as a freelance, but in a way it was calling all the artists independently, like from Francisco, from Leo Sanchez, from Dominic, Luis, there's tons of artists working on a presentation like this ones, like this kind of panels or the characters headless. You know, it was a lot of amazing artists. I'm talking about 2012, 13, kind of, and a lot of things were there, kind of that outline and everything. And you know, the trolls material was discovered in that presentation. Like they are gonna be made of rock or mineral, and from there it's gonna die as a rock, dead rock. And those ideas start to were there, like with
Yeah.
Guillermo, Mark, Rodrigo. They were planning all these things before. So Trollhunters as a show started with a background, really strong background of visuals and ideas already there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and from Wizards, for example, is that you imagine you started in that way with Trollhunters. Free Below was really different. Even it was a crossover story there, but that we had that lucky to be in that, you know, brainstorm room with Guillermo, Francisco, Linda, Joanne. It was a lot, you know, a lot of people, Sean, and that were working for us in intensely week of ideas of this new story is gonna be. And that we try to do the same idea of the beginning. But the thing is, you have more background now. So Wizard was like the same thing. We took the whole team, the whole art team. We brought people from outside the same thing. We put a room. It was a really good experience to be on it. I know from Linda, she really loves it.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for this talk. It was so informative, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. I'm so sorry that this wasn't recorded. I mean, we're kind of strapped for resources a little bit because a lot of the Lightbox stuff we have to do ourselves. There's no like, there's no like Zoom link for everybody or whatever. But hopefully in the future we can do more of these and hopefully put them up for everyone to view. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Linda.